Quazi here, and today I want to talk to you about the mechanism of surrender and how you're holding on to negative feelings and they're not helping you get to your final goal. Now, before I begin, I want to share with you that I've been trying this new technique of surrendering negative feelings, negative thoughts, and it has helped me greatly throughout these past 2 weeks. I've just gotten out of my exams and finally I'm here for the summer break in New York City back home. And I'll be making YouTube videos weekly and it'll be more consistent, and I couldn't make some because I was slumped with exams. Today I want to talk to you about the mechanism of surrender. So I've started to reread Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. And in this book, I realized that while I was reading it, because I got the Audible edition, and I was sort of reading it in a rush and just trying to skim over the main parts. But now that I reread it, and now that I'm more knowledgeable in some of this stuff, I read it maybe a year ago, I've started to see and catch on to more interesting, more important key parts that I wouldn't have understood or comprehended before. So it was kind of destiny that I was meant to reread it. There's great knowledge in this book, so I suggest everyone gets it and read it once, twice, and maybe 3 times. But what I want to share with you today is the mechanism of surrender and how we're holding on to our negative feelings and they're blocking us from achieving the things that we want to achieve. Human beings are inherently positive. When we're born, we have no idea of what negativity, social conditioning, and anything that's hindering us from getting the things that we want, or being happy, or being at peace, at joy. There is nothing telling us or hindering us, so we're naturally at peace. Now, as we grow up, we are conditioned in some ways, and even karmically, so our past life experiences, if you believe in that, those affect us in a negative way and influence our beliefs. So human beings are inherently positive. So once you remove all the clouds, the sun is free to shine forth. What I want to talk to you today about is getting rid of these negative feelings and how the process of surrender, the mechanism of surrender, as David R. Hawkins talks about in his book, is extremely helpful in getting rid of these negative feelings. So what this process is 3 steps. Step 1, identify the negative feeling without putting a label on it, without judging it, without resisting it. So every time we are about to make a decision, or when we go through life, when we get into a new environment or whatever it may be, let's say you walk into a crowded area and you start to feel feelings of anxiety. And instead of resisting this feeling, just notice that it's there. So step 1 is identifying and being aware of the feeling and the sensations without putting a label on it. So this is a feeling of anxiety without calling it anxiety. Let's call it a stiff feeling that you get in your solar plexus or your body. Now that you've identified this feeling, step 2 is asking what for. Now you must ask why you're getting this feeling, because something is clearly causing it. And as you get deeper and deeper into the feeling, you'll find that you get to the underlying source of the feeling. Initially, the feeling may present itself as thoughts. So you may get feelings of insecurity as you're entering the crowd. You may get feelings of, oh, what do they think of me? Oh, what do I expect from here? Or something of the sort. So a negative feeling, or any feeling in general, is the source of thousands and thousands of thoughts. Thoughts are less energetic forms of the feelings. And once you start to trace the thoughts back to the feeling, so once you start to ask what for, why am I getting these thoughts, why do I get the thoughts of, oh, what do they think of me, what for? And once you start asking them, you start to get to the source of the feeling where it generates. Now once you get to the source of the negative feeling, you just observe it and you let it be. The 3rd step is, once you detect the feeling, you let it be there without resistance, without labeling it, and then you de-energize it. So as you feel that the feeling of anxiety through you, you just let it be without resisting it. Once you start to let a feeling just exist without judging it or resisting it, what you do is you just let the feeling be there, but you take the energy out of the feeling. So now you no longer give your energy away to this negative feeling and this feeling that's holding you down. Now, David R. Hawkins has a scale of consciousness that shows a calibration from 0 to 1,000, which says that any feeling below 200, such as apathy, grief, anger, they're all negative feelings, and we give our energy to them. And any feeling above courage, or at courage is the neutral level. Any feeling above courage energizes us. So human beings inherently, we, due to our knowledge and our spiritual understanding and what we choose to accept, we function at a certain default level. But sometimes we may experience different levels of the consciousness scale, such as the levels of 500 of love and enlightenment maybe sometimes. But then we function at a default level. And at this default level, if it's above 200, then we're constantly being energized by our emotions and we're being driven to do things. But as we keep surrendering the negative feelings that come with these levels, then we start to move higher and higher. Default level gets even higher. And once you start to raise your consciousness, you start to become more aware in reality and you start to control your own reality. But then the paradox is, at one level, once you get high enough in the consciousness scale, you have no desire. So you have no need even, because you feel so whole and complete, you don't even need to control your reality. You don't even need to get anything out of it. So to recap, the 3 steps to surrender are: step 1, detect. Step 2, ask what for. So why am I feeling this? Getting to the source of the negative feeling and moving maybe from the thoughts even to the negative feeling, and then again to the source of the negative feeling. And 3, relinquishing these negative feelings through just letting them be. So in this 3-step process to surrender, you'll find that everything gets much lighter. And once you start to let go of negativity, surprisingly, things that you've been chasing for a long time are starting to manifest instantly. So for example, if you've been desiring a particular job for a while, once you start to surrender the underlying feelings behind the job, so why do you need this job? What for? Ask yourself, what for? Can you live without this job? And if the answer is yes, then you've successfully surrendered. So you'll know that you've gotten to a place of surrender once you, A, don't harbor any negative feelings towards it, when you don't get a sort of constrictive feeling once you think about the thing that you want. And 2, once you can think about something without the feeling of, oh, I need it, I can't live without it. So once you get rid of a certain attachment to it. So basically, once you think about something, your attitude should be one of, if I get it, that's cool. If I don't get it, that's even fine, because I'm already complete and whole. So that is truly the place of surrender. Once you can feel those feelings and just accept your life, whether or not you have the thing. And you'll see that soon reality will start to bend in your way without you even asking for it. A lot of the spiritual gurus don't focus on manifesting things and leave it up to the higher powers, because what happens is when we try to manifest our own reality, once we start to try to control our own outcomes, we're limiting ourselves from the greater things that we could achieve. So the greater intelligence, the thing that you connect to, the thing that all of us are connected to, it is so powerful that even merely asking for $1 million is not even the greatest extent to which it can provide. So this central intelligence is capable of such creativity in goals that if we just leave everything up to the world without trying to control outcomes, then the world will provide us with the things that we couldn't even imagine having. So just having a general attitude and the frame of mind of, I trust my world, I trust my reality, I trust my intelligence in order to provide me with the thing that I want. So overall, the letting go technique has been extremely, extremely powerful for me, because I've been surrendering a lot of negative feelings and feelings that I didn't even know existed. And I found myself even breaking into tears sometimes. And there is so much attachment to these feelings that it really blocks you from seeing other things, other opportunities clearly. Letting go is a magical process, and it even speeds up healing and recovery. So once you start to identify physical ailments that have been hindering you from getting things that you want, from performing your daily activities, once you start to get deeper into those, you identify the feeling associated with the dis-ease, and you ask, what for? What is the source of this? And once you get deeper and deeper into it and you surrender and relinquish these feelings, you'll see that these physical ailments will get even healed on their own. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope this process will help you, and I hope you'll continually try to use this process. It's very simple to use, and I've been using letting go maybe every hour, every passing hour of the day. Every time I have a negative feeling, I surrender it. So the key idea here is you want to surrender negative feelings through that 3-step process and share the positive feelings. So feelings of gratitude, love, and joy, you want to share them with your family, with your friends. And the negative feelings you want to surrender. Instead of expressing negative feelings, you want to surrender them. Most people think that if you express these feelings, you start to let go of them and surrender them, but that's not quite true. Because once you get a feeling like anger and you start to express it through physical violence, then you start to feed that anger, and it gets even stronger and it gets more energized because you give it permission to exist. But that's quite different from grief. And if you start crying out of grief, you don't really, it's not a form of expression as much as it's a form of release. So when you express anger, it's not usually a release, it's more like feeding the anger. But once you release tears, then you feel lighter. So the key feeling is you're going to feel lighter after you cry versus after you punch someone because you get angry. You're not going to feel light, you're just going to feel drained because the anger drains you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll use this process as much as I do, and I hope we can all get to collective spiritual enlightenment.